Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello, it's Gemma, and this is episode 272 of the new series of the Cognitive Podcast. And this one is, of course, called Cognitive Fiber Retreat 11.5, or CFR 11.5, if I don't feel like typing later as I enter it. At any rate, your comments are very welcome. Please feel free to comment on the blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com or to comment in our group on Ravelry. You will notice in the show notes this week, I have a lot of pictures scattered through them because there were a lot of pictures. I also, hopefully, will get some of those pics up on Instagram and thereby Facebook so that we all can share them. I'm not a big presence on social media right now for just a number of reasons I'm not going into. I got tired of the robo accounts and all that. But you can see a picture of poor little Minerva, who's actually big, lying among my packings for CFR 11.5 with that not again look on her face. And I do want you to know my warm thanks go to her because she spent last Friday flinging herself pathetically into my lap all day long and purring in between trying to drag away and kill all the luggage because she knows what this means. You'll be pleased to know when I came home Sunday morning, she once again was flinging herself at me ecstatically. In the bad old days, she would punish me when I came home. She's moved past that point where she's just grateful in these days. Tragic, but such is the life of a very well-loved house panther. Warm thanks also go, obviously, to the attendees of CFR 11.5. I want to thank you for giving me a simply wonderful day. There's a lot of standout people. In fact, they're all standout, but I'm going to thank Loretta, as always, for her help and support. To Drew and Stacy, I want to extend thanks because they showed up with looms and did wonderful classes, totally sucked in all of us. And I also want to give a really big thanks to Julie from Oink Pigments and Leslie from Laser Sheep for coming all the way up here from heaven knows where, south of LA, to vend for us. I can't tell you how I appreciated that. Julie went above and beyond, delivering my, I hope, sweater's worth of bulky yarn for the sweater that I'm pathetically sucked into already. As always, I want to thank my listeners because there just ain't a thing here without you, and I appreciate the warm comments. I also want to point out Chris Oz' delightful comment in the show notes, I think from last week, where I was talking about what you do as a strategy when you get a bad cold, and she said, cold? She said, I want to do that all the time. Hot bubble baths with Epsom salts, nasal rinses, lots of sleep. And she said, in her inimitable way, such is the life of a mother of two young children. Yes, it is. There are times you can really tell that I'm quasi-retired and my kid has reached adulthood. And here's the weirdest thing of all, Chris. You're really going to miss these days. It's kind of the paradox of parenting, let me tell you. I also want to thank all my communities. That is my peeps on Finch, my peeps on Reddit, my peeps on the ground in the Santa Clarita Valley and the Antelope Valley, and as always, the people in this group, people listening to me. Currently, my two birds in the Finch app are in Wonderland. They are supposed to meet the Red Queen. In fact, I think they did so today on the 11th of the month, and this Valentine's Day special goes till the 14th. But you can buy all the thematic clothing, I think, till the end of this month. So it's been very interesting. For some reason, as they walk through Wonderland, one of them seems to be thinking of sadness. and the other seems to be thinking of a laughing monkey. Yeah, I don't always understand the iconography of Finch, but I enjoy it because it helps me get things done. Cognitive Fiber Retreat 12. Dun, dun, dun. We had to change the date. And I have to say this, we had to. We are a small group, and if you show up, you get a real vote. And so one of the things that has changed over time, since we're not doing these big 50-person retreats anymore, is it matters a lot more if a member has a problem with dates, as long as we get enough warning that we can assemble people and vote. But it does matter a lot more when there's only 10 of you in a room and one person says, I can't come, versus there's 50 of you in a room, because almost unvaryingly more than one person is going to say it and you can't meet the needs of 50 people. But I do want to point out, it's kind of interesting to watch the way CFR is developing as we get smaller with age, I guess, and availability and competition with other yarn events. So one of the things that's become, everybody's got more of a voice. So we did eventually vote to change the date of CFR 12 to November 7th. It was November 14th. So please mark your calendars. I don't think anybody's made hotel reservations yet, but you shouldn't get burned if you did. Everything else will be pretty much the same. As I record this, I have not gone in and updated the information thread. So if you go to the All Info is Right Here link, you're going to land on the 11.5 information nonetheless. This is going to be pretty accurate. So there will be changes, and you have to give me a little time to catch this up. Have I made a hotel reservation? Not yet, but I plan to. I hope people will let me know they're coming, because I want to make sure I make the reservation. One of the interesting things, as long as I'm on this subject, is at CFR 11.5, I was the only one who rented a hotel room, and Loretta bunked with me, which was great. I have to say, really, really helpful. And if that's what's going on, we can use the hotel lobby because I reserved for both Friday and Saturday night. Now, if that's how it's going to be, I'm the only one doing it, okay, because that gives us a meeting place. I may have to bump up the cost to help pay for the room. I don't think I should be financially penalized for doing this. Or we may have to find a new location. So I'm waiting to see how this develops on CFR 12. For the time being, we're going to stay right where we are at the Marriott Courtyard by the 5, because it's a really accessible location for all of us. So far, so good. No big changes, except you get a bigger voice, I think, when there's a smaller group. Please remember that this thread will be developing. Please check back often. The date, as far as I can tell, is fixed. So you might be thinking, how did it work to have a small CFR, the 11.5? We'll talk about that in the blather a little bit. Registration for CFR 12 is not changing. You send $10 to me, and the information is in the show notes. If we need to increase the price to support a hotel room for me, because I'm the only one reserving, we'll talk about that down the road. In the meantime, we are continuing to collect donations for Loretta 1031's wonderful crocheting club at her school. And you can see a wonderful picture of her kneeling next to this enormous pile of yarns that she got. And she also sent me another picture, and hopefully I'm going to put it in the show notes. I've already published them, but I'll probably update it to include that picture. The kids thought it was fantastic. Your gifts were very well received. And when I do the information thread for CFR 12, I am going to carry over her message about what she wants. And there will be a link that's accurate in the show notes. If you're curious what you should be donating, the link is still in the show notes. It is going to take you to 11.5, CFR 11.5, but this is still accurate. Wow. Okay, Gemma. So what's on your hooks and needles? Back to the podcast. Well, you can see my finished Melt the Ice hat. This is in Malabrigo Rios Libra. I was going to use this skein for color work, but to be honest, I could not make it work in my two Strange Brews sweaters, and this Melt the Ice thing came along at a very nice time. A few things I learned from it. I have a big head, okay? So you're looking at, when I'm wearing it, you notice I can't really fold the brim up. That's 8 inches of ribbing before I started the decreases. I think in the original pattern, it's only 6 inches. So if I remake one of these hats, and it's very likely I'll be using another color of Rios that I've got on hand that needs to be used up, I will probably extend that ribbing to at least 10 inches. Also, when you do the decreases in the pattern, you're only decreasing along 2 seams 180 degrees apart from each other in the hat. You're not decreasing on 4 seams as often happens with a hat like this. That gives the hat its distinctive fold-over look so that the tassel can hang. Important thing, in the original pattern as I read it, you are basically decreasing every row. Now, in most patterns with decreases like this, you would decrease every other row and have a plain knit row in between. So, if I remake this, definitely I'm going to make it much, much deeper on the ribbing. As crazy as ribbing drives me, it's kind of identifiable in this pattern. And I'm very likely at that point to add the row of plain knitting between the rows of decrease. That, however, will make the angle of the decrease less sharp. So I'm thinking that one over. Probably if I don't do that, I will make the ribbing 12 inches instead of 6 inches. Why is that? I like my hats with a rolled up cuff, like a watch cap. Now, if you don't like that, the hat I'm wearing is just fine, except I think it's still a little shallow to give the view of the hanging tassel. So, food for thought. In the meantime, what about your stash toss, Gemma? Well, this means I am now at 14 skeins in because I did buy a total of 12 skeins from, yes, it's true, Oink Pigments. And I used up a skein for this hat, and I gave away roughly about 25 skeins. I would say more like 30, but I didn't stop to count. So I still need to go through those pictures and take them out of my Ravelry stash inventory. But I gave away a lot of yarn, and I'm really very happy about that. I probably can decrease all my yarn storage by one 20 or 50 gallon bin. I'm not even sure how big these things are, but they're big. But that's for later. Maybe in the spring when I have some time off, I need to pull everything out, do a serious yarn toss, and then reorganize things a bit. But we are slowly working our way through the yarn stash, which makes me happy. Many other things are making me happy right now. The Romule 2025 Cocoa Strange Brew, I'm on the neckline, which means I have about 5 rows left, and then I'm going to bind off. I would like to point out I am using the Pacific Knits Doodle patterns for the motifs. I have 3 different leaf patterns. I believe at least 2 of them are in the autumn set. One of them, the middle one, was in the January 2026 set. That same one from the January 2026 may be in another doodle leaf pattern box, because she does occasionally repeat these between sets. And we'll come back to how I'm going to handle that. But I don't mind. They do cost a lot to buy the cards, whereas the digital patterns are fairly inexpensive. You get a whole set for $5. So if you want to do the Doodle Knits patterns from Pacific Knits Company, you certainly can get the digital patterns and do just fine. The cards are a thing you can hold in your hands and shuffle around. At any rate, that Cocoa Strange Brew, the Romule 2025, is within an inch of finishing. After I bind off the neckline, I graft the underarms, and I need to weave in the ends in the inside on the color work. That reminds me to say, so I put on yesterday a sweater I've had for a few years, one of Megan Regan's autumn set, and I had put all these hissing cats on it and all that, a Halloween sweater. I never wove in the ends. So I'm doing 5 ends a day to get that finished off as part of my daily mending work. It's really kind of embarrassing how easy that is to do and how much better it looks and feels. So yes, you do have to weave in your ends, and no, you can be me and take your time doing it. One of the reasons I like the Strange Brew pattern, and believe me, there are many reasons I like it, is those underarm grafts. I was doing it bottom up, And they really give you underarm space, which I like a lot, because that means your arms aren't tight at the armpits, which I have seen lesser designs do. On the Coral Strange Brew, the arms are finished. I'm on the body. I'm about 10 inches from the bottom. I'm heading for 19 inches. This is my mindless knitting on trains or between patients, things like that. It's the one I do when I really want to do popcorn knitting and when I'm not paying a lot of attention. So I'm just doing stockinette around and around and around. Everybody should have something like this. This used to be why I did socks. Now that I have 5 bazillion socks, I'm not so big on doing them anymore. So I haven't touched the Dizzy laser socks. I did have them with me at CFR 11.5, but I got hooked into the hat. Vestuary 2026, I continue to carry the link to the Shetland Traders' excellent video on steeking armholes for stranded pattern vests. And also I have a link to the very fine discussion of reinforcing and cutting a steek by Brooklyn Tweed. If you're doing a vest from the bottom up the way I am and you want to do a tube, you're going to put the underarm stitches, at least the very bottom, on a stitch holder. At least I did. You could bind them off. Same difference. You're still going to pick them up. It's whether you want to pick up live stitches or knit into a bound off stitch. It's up to you. But you are going to continue to shape the armhole per the pattern. And you are going to have to shape a neckline when you get up there. So you need to think about that. Currently, I am in the process of shaping the armholes as I head for the neckline. This also is basically popcorn knitting right now. I just have to pay attention to the armhole shaping, but this is my Vestuary 2026. It is more than half finished. I am well into the armholes. And then there was, you just bought a huge amount of yarn at a knitting get-together. Yes, there it is. Prawn, but not forgotten, the colorway in the bulky base from Oink Pigments. I cannot remember the name of her bulky base. I don't care. It's beautiful stuff. It's wool. That's all I want out of it. I think it's pure wool. And her colorways are worth remembering. And she had said she had this in stock. As it turned out, she didn't. But she got it dyed for me really fast for the show. Thank you so much for that, Julie, because I know it wasn't easy to get everything together for the show and drive this distance and take care of that. So I'm deeply grateful. However, I realized that's probably not enough. So I did buy some skeins of a coordinating color. Hope you're sitting down, called Ovary Action. You know, Overreaction? It has some oranges in it. It looks simply lovely next to the Prawn, but not forgotten. So I went home, and of course, I have all this popcorn knitting I could do. So I cast on for an Agnes sweater in the Prawn, but not forgotten. And I will fade into the Ovary Action at the bottom. It's going very well. I think I'm on the 3rd skein right now out of the 6 I have. I'm really cranking this baby out. It's on size 11 needles. It's easy to crank out. If you need a sweater, like you just wake up one day and go, I need a sweater, I need it now, then I would suggest you pull out your big size 11 needles and go look at the Agnes pattern. The original is in a Quince & Company yarn that I believe is actually listed as a super bulky, but the author of the pattern seems to think it's a bulky. So she and Ravelry disagree on the weight. I don't care. Works for me. I'm going to say a size 5 yarn works great on this. The Prawn, but not forgotten, to me seems big for a size 5 yarn. I still don't care. It's working out really beautifully. No problem in my book here. So I'm just really, really happy about this. I also bought 3 skeins of a very dark sort of truffle mushroom color. It's a brown with slightly gray overtones is the best way I can describe it, moving away from a gold brown. And that's going to be for another oversized sweater, another Agnes. So the moral of this story is, if you need a sweater, you grab yourself about 8 skeins of a bulky weight. If you do it in a Knit Picks bulky, it's 6 skeins because their skeins are larger in yardage, whatever. But if you're going to get it from a hand dyer, you probably need more like 8 or 9 skeins. But I'm not kidding you. You can crank out one of these in about a week. They go really, really fast in your free moments, both of them. So you can see me wearing the top of it. It is top down. The Agnes has pockets. I have never made an Agnes with pockets. I don't want pockets in my sweater. I can see why the designer does it. It's very cute, not for me. You do need worsted weight to do the pockets. I'm not even going there. I just don't want to do it. But I just get under the armpits and go straight down. They fit me great, and I like the pattern very much. So there is the Agnes. Meanwhile, let's see what else I've been doing. I haven't been spinning or quilting. Oh, let's get on to a strategy, shall we? Okay, so when you do anything, any group meeting today, politics come up. And I think that happened at CFR 11 and at CFR 11.5. And we're trying to be inclusive, and we're trying to let people have their own space as long as they're not advocating anything dangerous, basically. We're doing the best we can because we don't want this to be highly political. Now, I know things are political, and so you can hear my problem right in the way I sound right now. And I want to hand it to one of our regulars who said the best comment. She said, we all agree we don't want violence. And that probably saved me during the whole CFR 11.5, that I had to keep reframing in terms of everybody breathe, everybody calm down, no violence, we're good. And there's got to be a starting point. If your country is as polarized as my country is, there has to be a starting point for reunification here. And I think no violence is a great starting point for that. So, having said that, instead of giving you a strategy about nonviolence, what I'm going to say is, what do you do when you hit extreme frustration? Okay, and that's the 2-minute grounding meditation. So I'm going to go with that. And we're going to talk about how do you do a 2-minute grounding meditation. Why is this not what I've been saying to you all along about meditation? Well, it's very similar. First of all, 2 minutes. Why? This is only meant to sort of bring you back into the present moment, to calm you down and refocus you and get you out of fight or flight. Just kind of important to me. Because if you're in fight or flight, that's where violence comes from. It doesn't have to, but it certainly can. But let me put it this way. Violence has to come from a human in fight or flight, specifically in fight. Okay, so what we want to do is bring you back into the present moment where you become realistic. Am I really in danger right now? Do I really need to go aggressive or fight right now? What do I need to do? Okay, so that's why we're grounding. What is grounding? It is what it says. It is getting your feet back on the ground. This ground, the ground you happen to be standing or sitting on right now or lying down on. Okay, so this is a fairly quick thing to do to bring yourself back to the present moment so that you can make good decisions about what you want to do. So we don't need to do this for a long time. Also, if you're not used to meditating, you're not really going to be able to do a long meditation. You're going to find it confusing and kind of disorienting. No, you've already meditated today. You just don't know it. But I'm not going to go there. If you think you are meditating and you think you don't know how to meditate, in my book, that's like staying up all night to study for a urine test. But it still is very real for most people. I don't think Westerners recognize how often we fall into a meditative state as humans. At any rate, I don't mean to scare you. This is only 2 minutes. You can do pretty much anything for 120 seconds. So set a timer outside yourself. And that could be your smartwatch. That could be your home system like Google Home or Alexa or anything like that. It could be your phone alarm. Set the timer. Now you don't have to keep thinking about time. So what are you going to do? If I were you, I would sit down or lie down comfortably. I prefer to close my eyes so that I'm not distracted. Buddhist monks leave their eyes half open. That just doesn't work well for me. But if you're not comfortable, keep your eyes open, but stare at a fixed point so that you don't get distracted. Now that we're doing this, start at your feet and pull soothing energy out of the ground. Pretend your feet are tree roots. Uncross your legs, uncross your arms. Very simple reason why. They'll get numb if you don't. So uncross everything so you don't go numb. And then concentrate. If you're lying down, you can use your whole body, but if you're sitting or standing, drive roots into the ground from your feet. And let those roots take firm hold of the ground. And then, like tree roots, draw up soothing energy. It can feel any way you want it to feel. It can feel tingly and pleasant. It can be warm. It can be cool. It can be whatever you need, but draw up that soothing energy and pull it into your feet. Feel it fill your feet gently and slowly and comfortably. And as it fills your feet, it is bringing relaxation. Every place the energy touches relaxes. So you're going to feel how your feet fill up, heels, toes, arch of your foot. And when you're ready, you're going to pull that soothing energy up into your ankles. Feel how it floods your ankles. Feel how it fills your calves and slowly bubbles comfortably up your shins, up the front of your leg, up the back of your leg. And when it reaches your knee, you can feel how your whole lower leg and foot on both sides happens to be very relaxed and comfortable and grounded. You feel safe and in firm contact. You realize you're not going to fall out of your chair. If you're standing, you're not going to fall over. Your body won't let that happen in either case. If you're lying down and you fall asleep, have a nice nap. You needed it more than you needed this. But you're going to progressively work your way up your body using your own body as a roadmap. So now when your knees have filled with the soothing energy, you can pull it up your legs. Feel how it bubbles up your thighs, up the front of your legs, your hamstrings in the back, your quadriceps in the front. Feel how that energy goes up your body, relaxing every part of you. Okay, now that's what I sound like when I do that in session. I sound a little slower than that, believe it or not, but I wanted you to hear the way it sounds on a hypnosis tape or a video, because they're all over YouTube if you feel like you need that. But I also want you to hear how you do this. It does not matter how far you get when your 2-minute alarm goes off. It does not matter. And I'll tell you why. Here's the secret agenda. By getting you to focus on your body, one part at a time, you're no longer focused on your fear, your anxiety, any aggression, any panic. Okay, that this is mindfulness. We're bringing you into this moment in one specific point in space and time, in your body, in fact, and we're helping you relax. If you do this, your heartbeat will slow, your breathing will slow, your pulse will slow, you will relax, the corticosteroids will begin to move out of your system. You will calm down. It is good for you. So it doesn't matter. If you get to your head, by the way, and you say, well, I finished and I still have some time to go because my alarm didn't go off. What you say is, now I'm resting peacefully grounded. I always say you're balanced between heaven and earth, where you belong, doing what you need to do to take care of yourself so that you can be effective in your words and thoughts and actions. Okay? And you can just sit with that for a few seconds. If you get through your body that fast, I'm impressed. I've been doing this since 1993 at least. I don't know if I've ever gone through my body that fast. But that's the 2-minute grounding meditation. When the alarm goes off, you're done. Take your time coming back. Just relax. Take a few deep breaths. Open your eyes when you're ready. Look around and let yourself be calm. Now, hopefully, you're out of fight or flight. Whatever impulses you had that are of concern to you, whether it's panic or anger or sadness or fear, you've now managed them. Okay, so that's the 2-minute grounding meditation. You'd be amazed how many times I do that between patients, because I have to step out of one patient's sometimes very traumatic world and step into another patient's completely different world. And I get usually 4 or 5 minutes between patients to do that, go to the restroom, and write a charting note. I'll let you guess which one I give up if I run out of time, because it really varies wildly. But that is the strategy. That is the 2-minute grounding meditation. I highly recommend it. Oh, shoot, not much, just the links to where to donate your old running shoes and medals and my list of upcoming races in the fluffy books. I finished A Fellowship of Curses and Cats. I believe this is the 5th book in the Adenashir. The reader on Audible calls it Ardenashir, but I don't think there's an R in there until Sheer. But anyway, this is the 5th book in the series. The writing is getting progressively better, I must say, and a bit slyly witty. And so I deeply enjoyed this one. Like I said, I didn't like the first book that much, but I am pleased that I held on through the series. They are very cheap, too, in ebook format, so I didn't mind doing that. I started The Healing Hippo of Hinode Park, which is by the author of a book I read recently. I believe it is What You Are Looking For is in the Library. It's very similar, except instead of going to the rather wise librarian, it's focused on this hippo statue. They call it a ride, so I guess little kids can sit on it. But it doesn't do anything, it just sits still. And so the focus is on this hippo sitting in this park. And I'm not going to do any spoilers beyond that. It's very sweet, it's very endearing. I have to say, culturally, it's not American, and I really like that. The first chapter is about a teenager taking responsibility for themselves and examining their relationship with their parents in a positive way. I think in an American novel, this might have degenerated into, my parents are not there for me enough. And the solution to that potential is very, very moving and very interesting. So I do recommend you read this. And I must say, bonus points for the theme of social and family responsibility, even for teenagers. I really, really liked it, and I recommend it so far. I think I'm on chapter 3 out of about 6. Something I really like. Oh, I owe so much to our Stacy, Jedi Mom, because she introduced me to a Pokemon binder to hold all my knitting doodle cards. She brought a beautiful binder that I believe had space for 800 or 900 cards, and our own Drew, as in Drew Caitlin, put the link in the information thread for CFR 11.5. So thank you to both Jedi Mom, Stacy, and Drew Caitlin. I ordered one immediately in a hot, sparkly pink with space for 400 cards. I already realize I'm going to be ordering a second one. I do believe Loretta 1031 was looking for less expensive alternatives. I was pretty happy with the price for exactly what I got. It's in the post heading to me now. What I did not know, and I owe this so much to Stacy, is that Pokemon cards and knitting doodle cards, same exact size. Yes! So thank you so much, Stacy and Drew, for enabling me to get myself a binder for my Doodle Knits cards, which currently are being held together by old hair bands, which have a lot of hair tangled in them, so they're better this way than they are in my hair. It's getting a little gross. Do you understand what I'm saying? So thank you so much, ladies. That really matters. I also want to recommend my own bundle on Ravelry. The link is in the show notes for red hats of resistance to ice. I am collecting as many patterns as I can find. Crochet, knitted, all sizes, including like pin and badge sizes. If you have one you want to send to me, put it in the show notes. I will include it in the bundle. Now, to me, the Melt the Ice pattern, which is the first one, and it costs $5. That's a win-win. You get a really good pattern. You get a little bit of the history of the Norwegian resistance hats, and the $5 is going straight to the people impacted by ice in Minnesota. I keep hearing different figures, but the highest I've heard has been $600,000 from $5 patterns. The lowest I've heard this week, I think, has been $200,000. That's a lot of money, and that's a good thing. But if you say, I can't afford that right now, okay, there are free patterns, but there are also links in my show notes that will let you donate directly when you're ready to hand over $5 should you feel that impulse. I hope you will. I also have a link to Crafters Helping Minnesota. That is a page of links. Also, finally, I have a link to the back episodes of this series on Proton. Currently, I'm featuring episodes 151 to 200 of this very series, this series right here. I am thinking after episode 200, I will circle back and repeat the episodes from the new series, because I've already done the old series twice, so I may repeat the new series up to episode 200. We'll see. Put a lid on it, not much really. My Plum Deluxe backup supplies for the year have arrived, and I have been reconfiguring my tea collection to feature them more prominently on my countertop, frankly. The Heartbreaker, my very favorite Plum Deluxe, next to the Earl Grey, is Cherry Berry Plum Tea. This is an herbal, and it's out of stock, and I don't see it coming back. I cannot tell you how I love and worship Cherry Berry Plum Herbal Tea, Plum Deluxe. If you're listening, bring it back. All right, on to the blather. Well, Saturday was the retreat, and you can see the pictures. There's my very first panorama picture of our two loyal vendors sitting in the lobby. They took one corner of the lobby, set themselves up. It was so cool that they did this. I cannot thank Oink and Laser Sheep enough, and really, go support them. The link, if you're looking for the link, it's under the resources that I feature, but I'm thinking I should probably add links in, actually, because they were so good to us. So I'm going to make space to do that now. Meanwhile, you can see a lot of pictures of us all over the lobby. Loretta took the ones that I'm in. I took the ones that Loretta is in. It was so good. It was just very restful. It was very, very restful. As I said, change number one, smaller group, and no breakdown breakfast on Sunday, which I missed, but I could understand it. Really, people handled this as a one-day thing. I didn't, but I can see why. There was such a small group of us, and people said, well, I can't afford to do it twice a year. Okie doke. I hope this means for CFR 12 in November, on November 7th, we will all rent rooms and do the slightly bigger version, but if this is where we're going, okay, I'm going to miss that Sunday brunch where we talk about things, but we really did a lot of that Saturday afternoon. I think everybody was gone by about 7 o'clock except Loretta and I. We were both exhausted. We looked at each other and said, dinner first, and then we'll talk about, are we going to spend the night here or should we just go home? We were so tired by the end of dinner, we just opted. We both fell into bed, and we got up early the next day, and we were both home early on Sunday. I think I got back up to the farm a little before 9. So it was really, really great. My impressions of it, it was good. It was good, but it was very, very different than the way I've always thought of CFR. We will see where CFR 12 goes. Now, I contributed to the difference accidentally, I think, when I named it 11.5. I made it sound like it was just an offshoot, not an entity unto itself. That may have influenced people's attitude about doing the whole shebang. Few other things. In February, we all had problems with sickness. We lost our sustainable living to the sickness issue. Everybody, including me, had been sick recently, I think, or a lot of us had. So if we're going to do a winter or spring retreat, we need to talk about this at CFR 12 if we want to do a second retreat every year and when we would do it. Because I think we might want to move it out of midwinter, like February, because of the fact flu was going around. And I came very close to not making it myself. And fortunately, as I said last episode, I really took care of myself. So that is a consideration. If it's going to be smaller, the consideration is, do we need to relocate it? Because you can't just make one person pay the room rent by reserving a room at the hotel. If I had only stayed Friday night and left Saturday, we would not have been legal in that lobby. They were letting us have the lobby because I had the 2 nights. Now, I used my points, so I'm not out any money. And for those of you who are at the retreat, you really should go back and check the links in the information thread. I think a lot of them have been updated, that's a hint. So you should go check those links. I'm going to keep the stuff I had in Proton available to make sure everybody gets a shot at it. So I'll keep it there for a few more weeks probably. All right, having said that, I did try to give value for money. Everybody paid me $10. And so I let you buy in on a project with me is how I would look at that. In the meantime, we had a good time. We ended up basically gathering Saturday morning. So I don't even remember what I did for breakfast, frankly. I think I just had a cup of coffee with some of my protein powder in it. And for lunch, Loretta and I hopped off to Urbane Cafe. And we had two surprise guests, Susie, my sister-in-law, and Corey, a colleague of mine. And I can't remember if Susie even came with us. I think she did. Yeah. And so we went off to Urbane Cafe, which is really nice. Most of the group brought their own lunches and snacks and just stayed right there. I needed the break. I needed to kind of regroup and sit with people, particularly with Loretta, and get feedback. How are we doing? How long is this going to go? What do you think has changed? That sort of thing. So it's always really good. Loretta and I think Stacy are the longevity people. They've been to every retreat. Thank you, ladies. More than I can possibly say. And so being able to sit quietly with at least one of them and get the feedback is huge for me. We had a blast. We did have classes. It was Stacy and Drew on looms. Stacy was showing us how to use pickup sticks, something I never even realized was real for looms. It makes a raised ridge in the weft. It's very pretty. Stacy also was experimenting with her warping and got this incredibly beautiful striping pattern, which she then repeated on the weft. This was so pretty. And meanwhile, she brought along a loom that she had restored. And we had one more loom, and I want to say that was Drew. And you can see I'm blanking a little bit. Hey, it's been a busy morning here in professional land. Anyway, Drew and Stacy were going through the stuff. They did amazing stuff, answered questions, got everybody excited. Now, the two people who showed up as my guests were, Susie, my sister, and my friend Corey, and they just needed to be with the girls. And Susie's passing through after leaving Minnesota, and basically she's traveling around for a while, figuring out what she wants to do these days. And it was so great to have them show up. Corey needed time with the girls, and she's really interested. She's not technically a psychologist. She doesn't have a license. You have to have a license to be a psychologist. So she doesn't treat patients. But she is a researcher, and she got very interested in craft research from watching us all. So it was very, very cool to get their feedback, and they had a fabulous time. At dinner time, we'd pretty much broken up. I didn't even go to dinner till 7 o'clock. People headed home. Okay. CFR 12, I'm going to act for the time being like it's a typical CFR in the winter that people are staying over. We will see how it develops. But if this is the way CFR is going to be, that's okay too, but we might be eventually making changes to the venue. Meanwhile, on Sunday, I got home early Sunday, and I was so brain fried. I was really tired, which still surprises me how tired I was after CFR, because I had a great time and there was no reason for me to be stressed. But I came home tired. And my beloved son had already taken the train down to the city, and I just decided I'm going to go have a nice lunch in Glendale and go to the giant Barnes & Noble and just walk. And just kind of walk, because I didn't get in any running, so I really needed some walking exercise. It turned out to be really nice. I met up with the beloved son in Glendale after he did his thing in the city. He was exploring the underground lines. And we ended up at the Galleria. We had a lovely lunch at the Cheesecake Factory because I had gift certificates I bought before Christmas with their bonus. And then you can see a picture of us on the street being shocked by one of these little delivery robots that's now wheeling around Glendale. And so there's a picture of my son in his mask because he has a cold. He's taking a picture of it. And then I just took a picture because why not? It was interesting to see how this thing handled red lights. It handled them very well. It seemed to be able to read when it had a green, and it did not go with the green. It went with the walk signal, the little white walking male pedestrian sign. Very interesting. In the meantime, we had a great time. We came home. I'm just really glad it kind of grounded me after CFR. And so Here I am back at home. You can see in the show notes our lifelines for the LGBTQIA plus community. You can see our community resources, which also has links to Oink and Laser Sheep. You can see our information on the USC Law Students Program to help immigrants who are trying to legally enter the country by going through immigration court. And you can also see the information on reporting ICE and staying informed. You can see my calendar upcoming. And Minerva gets the last word. Minerva's last word is, and now for my next evil plot. You may be wondering why she's saying that. It's because she was frantic on Friday, as I said, when I pulled out all the suitcases. And so she kept jumping in my lap, but she also did what I lovingly call hell raising all day. When she wasn't in my lap, she got on my desk and just knocked everything off, no matter where I was. The bedside table, the table next to my knitting nook, the desk. She spent all Friday making it clear that she was angry at me for leaving, while also, and this is where it gets sort of poignant, crawling into my lap and begging me not to go. Now, those of you who are saying, was she begging you to go with you? No, I already explored that possibility. She will not wear a kitty harness, or I would consider bringing her. So basically, Minerva's world is, you are my community. You must not leave. Because Minerva, like many a wise mammal around her, understands that we are part of a community. You knew I'd say this, right? You knew I'd make this work in, right? And when we take care of the community, we are taking care of the individual. Having said that, everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.